Hello family, I'm Robert and I'm a real alcoholic.
Hey, Robert.
I would like to welcome everyone to the Atlanta Step Up Society book study. The name of our book study is Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. Let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. Serenity Prayer.
God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Y'all be patient with the little dog. They'll stop in a second. Check this out. We're getting to the last pages of the chapter 2 Wise. We will finish tonight, this chapter. But this chapter went so well for me that I know for a fact that the next chapter, the family afterward, gonna be dynamite. It's dynamite. And I think Wayne was looking on the internet today. They're just tearing this chapter up. People all over the world is really, really, really paying attention to the chapter 2 Wise. And so that makes me I wanted to kind of like cheat, go ahead and start studying next week's, but I didn't. I just stay where I am. You know, you have to stay into the now. Right? So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. But I learned a lot out of this chapter, especially when dealing with other people and how they viewed us as alcoholics. You know, I learned a lot. And also I learned a lot about myself, because in order to stay clean and sober, and the way people really looked at us, and today, as me being clean and sober, I still have to maintain some type of serenity. Because the perceptions and the ideals of addicts and alcoholics, especially with the television, the internet, the web, Twitter, much of that has not changed. So in order to keep your serenity, you must be in this program. And then I can kind of weigh it against the people who are not in the program. But they have no conception whatsoever at all about what they're talking about. And they take this to big national TV program and they be wrong. 100% wrong. You know, our program is still about one addict helping another addict. One alcoholic working with another alcoholic. That's still the foundation. But to people's misunderstanding, it's nothing but compassion. You know, we love each other, we have compassion for each other, and we're going to try our best to see each other make it through. And that's just love. So they can take all the hearsays and all the relapsers, and all the people that talk against it. They can stay where they need to stay. You know, the book say, live and let live. I let you live and you let me live. Because I know deep down in my spirit, I'm at peace and I have serenity. When other ones who worried about what I'm doing don't have it. But I'm sure not worried about what you're doing. You know, I don't put and take no energy trying to contradict something that's working. Alright? So tonight we're going to start on the paragraph where it says, we women carry with us a picture of the ideal man. I studied these 3 pages, and I was like, it still got me in awe. Because this is still a deep chapter. And I must have did this book study like the one we're doing now, at least 100 times in the last 22 years. And I never studied it like this. I think I kind of just read through the chapter and shared on it and kept moving. But this is really, really, really a deep chapter. Alright, so let's start, Paul. We women.
We women carry with us a picture of the ideal man, the sort of chap we would like our husbands to be. It is the most natural thing in the world, once his liquor problem is solved, to feel that he will now measure up to that cherished vision. Chances are he will not, for, like yourself, he is just beginning his development. Be patient.
Now it says, these are the women who live with alcoholics. Their husbands were alcoholics and they live with us. And then you have the other women who kind of like lived with the alcoholic, but now the alcoholic is in recovery and they're working with other women that have alcoholic husbands. So they're writing this chapter, okay? And they're giving their advice on what to do if you have an alcoholic husband. That makes sense for the newcomer? So it says right now, in other words, they were your girlfriend, they were your wife, and they were your mama. Now you got it. Right. It says, we women carry with us a picture of the ideal man, the sort of champ we would like our husbands to be. It is the most natural thing in the world. I'm going to stop right there. They're saying that it's kind of like the guy riding the white horse in the shining armor. But when you have a good, healthy vision of something, a good, healthy a vision or imagination or an idea of what your husband or your spouse should be, that is the most natural thing in the world. That's the healthiest position you want to have. There's nothing wrong. It says it right here. That is the most natural thing in the world. If you got a spouse or husband or a significant other or something, and you imagine that person to be a certain way that's loving, caring, and kind, and beautiful, and successful, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, you shouldn't even settle for less than that in your own mind. That would be insane. Well, why would I imagine? Well, I sure like to have me a drunken ass woman. Can't pay the bill, can't clean the house. That's insane. Even though it might be in front of me. But my imagination got to be farther than what I'm getting. There's nothing wrong with that. That's saying a lot, y'all. That's deep. That's saying a lot. If you're unsatisfied with what's just happening in your life right now, change it in your mindset. Create a new vision. Create something different than what's happening in the present. And they say that's the most natural thing in the world. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. If you don't, what's the purpose of prayer? What you praying for? The same thing? Or you're praying for something that's different and better. So that's all it's saying right here. There's nothing wrong with having an ideal picture. Then it says that it is the most natural thing in the world once his liquor problem is solved, to feel that he will now measure up to that cherished vision. So you have this vision, this cherished vision. Now you got a person that's not longer drinking and they're sobered up, and it says that to feel that he will now measure up to that vision. In other words, the vision is bigger, right, and more healthier than the person who just got clean and sober. So now is an opportunity or a possibility that he can catch up or become a part of that cherished vision. And there's nothing to say he can't. They didn't say that. They told her the chances are that he will not. Like yourself, he is just beginning his development. Be patient. So if you have a cherished vision, everything has an incubation period. Remember I told y'all that? There's nothing on the planet that does not have an incubation period. For a horse, it's around 16 months. So by the time a female horse get pregnant, until that little pony come out, it's 16 months incubation. For a chicken, it's what, 2-3 weeks? An egg? Yeah. About 3 weeks. I know for dogs it's 63 days. But I done had dogs that had puppies. From day one, I start counting. 63 days later, I got some puppies. But there was an incubation period before you seen the puppies. Same with fruits and tomatoes and garden. You put a seed in the ground, tomorrow you're not going to have tomatoes. There's an incubation period on everything. So if a person going from one condition of life to another condition of life, there's still an incubation period. in the change. So that's what they're saying, that the chances are that he will not, like yourself, he is just beginning his development. Be patient. That goes along with, if I have this vision of, let's say I have a vision of where I like my company to be in 3 or 4 years from now, and I have this vision, I carry with this vision every day. When I walk through this door, my vision is bigger than where I'm at right now. But by holding on to the vision, I will reach it. I will get to that level, but I must be patient. But patience don't mean forget the vision. That's not what they're saying. It don't mean forget the vision. If you forget the vision, you're lacking faith. Faith is the substance of things not seen. I don't see it here, but I see it in my mind's sight. And you don't let it go. Oh, ye a little faith. That's what they're talking about. When you drop it, because it's not coming to your expectation, because you didn't allow for the incubation period. Y'all with me? Yeah. Some guy from Germany said, "You sound like evangelist." I love it. He said that last week. You know, I go to the internet because they email me back, you know, on what's that, Gmail? Email that back on the YouTube thing. Said, "Look, you sound like an evangelist. I wish we had more of them over here. I love it." Yeah. But it's not really being an evangelist. It's just unlocking the mystery that's in the book. Right. It's not a secret. It's written right there. If you study what vision is, right? You study what patience is. The 2 and 2 click. All right, the next one.
Another feeling we are very likely to entertain is one of resentment that love and loyalty could not cure our husbands of alcoholism. We do not like the thought that the contents of a book or the work of another alcoholic has accomplished in a few weeks that for which we struggled for years. At such moments we forget that alcoholism is an illness over which we could not possibly have had any power. Your husband will be the first to say it was your devotion and care which brought him to the point where he could have a spiritual experience. Without you, he could not have gone to he would have gone to pieces long ago. When resentment thoughts come, try to pause and count your blessings. After all, your family is reunited, alcohol is no longer a problem, and you and your husband are working together toward an undreamed of future.
All right, another feeling we are very likely to entertain is one of resentment. The women have resentments. Okay? And we studied last week that they found that they had some of the, they said in paraphrase, is that it was kind of simple-minded of us to believe that we did not need God. Because once we start working on ourselves, we found out we had these resentments, this self-centeredness, this self-pity. All the things that we saw that was in the alcoholic, we have the same things ourselves. So we need God just as well as they do. So we need to work on ourselves. That's from the last week. And it says right here, another feeling we are likely to entertain is one of resentment. That's holding a grudge. Angry. For 2014 folk, you pissed off. Alright. That love and loyalty could not cure our husband of alcoholism. You have these women who went through everything to try to save the alcoholic. I'm talking about 20 years of marriage. In for the to death do us part. They went through all the suffering. They went through all the financial stuff. They went to all the counseling sessions. In fact, they went to more counseling and therapy than the alcoholic did. They had all kind of advice from pastors and preachers, you know. They did all this stuff. They took their husbands and did geographical changes. I mean, the list is just go on and on and on and on. To no avail. Still an alcoholic. And all of a sudden, he comes in AA, and in 30 days, he getting a white chip, a middle chip. He pick up a white chip, then he pick up a 30-day chip. And they're looking, wait a minute, if you can do that in 30 days, and they helping you, I don't feel right about this. I did all this for 20 years. Something ain't right. So they start getting angry about it. And the anger gonna grow. So they're gonna have to catch themselves real fast. Cause Buddy in AA, he gonna do some things. He gonna change his way of thinking and his way of life. Alright? So it says that love and loyalty could not cure the alcoholic. All the love I showed this man, all the loyalty, all being faithful, taking care of the bills when he couldn't do it, none of that made him stop. Baby after baby I was having because I thought maybe at the next baby he'll get sober. Didn't work. We do not like the thought that the context of a book or the work of another alcoholic has accomplished in a few weeks that for which we struggled for years. They got a resentment. He goes, he start reading his book, he get a sponsor, he start working with others, and he stay clean and sober. And we've been trying to get him clean and sober for years. At such moments, we forget that alcoholism is an illness over which we could not possibly have had any power. See, they talk about it. Every time you're talking about the alcoholism, you have to always start from step one. Especially when you're coming out of alcoholism. I don't know how somebody can come out of alcoholism and don't have no knowledge of the disease of addiction or the illness of addiction and then stay clean and sober. The book says itself, any man that overlooks the physical part of the disease is starting his recovery journey incomplete. So after 20 years of dealing with an alcoholic and trying to be loving and loyal didn't work because I didn't know or she didn't know about the illness and neither did he. To me, it made more sense if you just drink at home, you'll be okay. But they don't know once he put that first drink in, it's going to develop the phenomenon of craving. That's beyond his mental control and yours too, honey. It's real. They didn't see that. They didn't know that. Alright? But when he came in here and got hold of this book and a good sponsor, and he found out about the illness, then he can restart his recovery journey completely, the right way. It says that at such moments we forget that alcoholism is an illness over which we could not possibly have had any power. Your husband will be the first to say that it was your devotion and care which brought him to the point where he could have a spiritual experience. In other words, just the first spiritual experience or awakening for me was the opportunity to know that I had this illness. Prior to that, it made no sense because I tried to quit using everything under the sun and the moon to quit. But then I found out this is not a problem about quitting. This is a program about allowing a power that's greater than yourself to remove the obsession to drink. And the first spiritual awakening I got was the fact that I had an illness that I was powerless over. That if I put any alcohol in my body, I had heard when I was drinking, people say that. You cannot drink. You cannot drink. Don't take a drink. And I believe that to a certain extent. If I stay sober a week, I believe, my belief changed that I can take a drink. I'm not going to do a lot, but I can take a drink. It makes no sense not to take a beer. But when y'all put the second part of that in there, after I suffered and hit rock bottom, and then y'all threw in the physical side, that if I put that one beer in my system, it develops a phenomenal craving, and then I'm off to the races. And if my mind says you need to stop, you need to go take care of them dogs, you need to go do this and do that, it overrides all that normal thinking. And I'm still continually to chase it, the craving. That makes me powerless. You're powerless when your own mind can't stop you from doing what you don't want to do. Paul said they're real good. I'm doing things I don't want to do. I don't know why I'm doing them, but I'm still doing them. I must need a renewing of the mind. Step one to me. We do stuff that we don't want to do. So it said right here that by you being there, your devotion and care, because I know I would have been dead. And then any real man any man, I'm just using man and women tonight, but I'm using any gender. Alright? If you have I don't know if you would call it blessed or cursed, but if you had the experience, I'm going to use that word, you had the experience to have your family around you the whole time you were using, I did not have that experience. It kicked me to the curb real fast. I was on my own, or so I thought. But you have to look back and you hear other people sharing in the meeting, you have to give them some kind of credit. Because a lot of people didn't have that. You know what I'm trying to say? They were blackballed 2 years in the game. Off to the races. Some people had their family and their wives with them the whole time. And you have to say, had it not been for that love and care and devotion, I wouldn't have made it this far. Alright? And a lot of times they did the research way before we even got into the program. They knew about the program, they went out and did the research, they went and talked to people before I got here. Alright? Without you, we would have gone to pieces long ago. When resentment thoughts come, now this is important. It's the thoughts, y'all. It's the thoughts. When resentment thoughts come, try to pause and count your blessings. So what they're saying here is that we have to learn, or they're teaching them to learn, to identify with our negative thoughts. Our negative thoughts. When you hear them, you need to have some kind of control to be able to pause and count your blessings. Alright, for me, sometimes I just go in my office. Sometimes I take this little finger right here and I put it in the center of my hand and I hold it real tight so I don't do nothing stupid. You know, that's my little clue not to do it. And just let them go, because them thoughts will pass. Them too shall pass. You pause. You can inhale, just exhale, blow out. Whatever it takes. Take a walk. Go shoot a basketball. Or whatever. You know, you want to pause and then go into gratitude. You don't want to pause and do nothing when you start back up, because guess who's going to show up? Resentment. You want to change your state of consciousness. You want to go from negative to positive. People who are just coming in, one of the most beautiful things I learned early in recovery was the gratitude list. That's what my sponsor taught me. When I was in treatment, like in the St. Jude's and in the three-quarter house, halfway house, three-quarter house, I used to always do a gratitude list every night. Because early in recovery, everything wasn't perfect. It was still an int from using. But I used to have the gratitude list. I used to just write down everything that I was kind of mad with or had a resentment with. I didn't know nothing about no steps. I hadn't even gotten to that. I was like, I'm pissed off because the boss yelled at me. You know, they was a day late on my pay. I was short 2 hours. You know, 2 hours, very, very important when you're making $4.10 an hour. I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? $8.20. And then at night, when I go home, man, I'm grateful I got my own room. I'm grateful that I got a closet with 4 pair of pants in it. You know, I'm grateful I got tennis shoes. I just do a little grateful and something. And right before I go to bed, I might have 30 things I'm grateful for and 2 things or 4 things that I'm not grateful for. So the gratitude list overpowered or more dominant than the ungrateful list. So that changed my state of consciousness. When I say state of consciousness, I'm talking about the mindset. You know what I'm trying to say? If I lived in Atlanta and I did a geographical change and I moved to the beach on Florida, even though I went to Florida and my consciousness, my mindset and everything around me is different, might be a little more breezier, got water and the ocean and people fishing, but Atlanta's still there. It's still there. Just like I left it. So all I did was change locations. So that's what you have to do in your mind. If you always thinking negative, you're going to have to change locations in your mindset. Go from ungrateful to grateful. And then they gave him a little example about your blessings. After all, your family is reunited. That's number 1. You got your husband back. Even though you pissed off with the AA and the fellas and the sponsor and all that, he home. Sober. Number 2, alcohol is no longer a problem. Number 3, you and your husband are working together toward an undreamed of future. That's deep. That's deep. You and me not, right? Dream of future. I'm going to use myself for example of that. When me and my wife and Ken was saying, when we first started this company, I dreamed of just having my own business. I dreamed of my wife being with me. But looking back, my dream was a mom and pop operation. It wasn't big. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just that I didn't want to work for nobody else. It was small. The whole company was downstairs. Where we standing there, you know that little room down there with the books? That was the entire company. Wasn't nothing back there. Wasn't no trucks. We ain't having one car, and that was Ken. And it was something like a Thunderbird. And we were picking up donations. So everything was just up under this right downstairs there with no customers. But it evolved way beyond what I dreamed of, and it's not over. Every month something come in bigger and grander, an undreamed of future. Now you cannot be spiritually disconnected to have that happen. But one dream has never failed. That's my passion and desire to work with others. See, my dream is I want to be the greatest 12-step teacher on the planet. If I go to China, I want to be able to teach this book and have an interpreter. In fact, I want to learn Chinese. But that's a vision that I want to have. Will I see it in my body? Maybe not. But now I understand what they're talking about when people have visions so big like jobs and all them, that your body, the flesh, the instrument that God used, only going to last so long. But that vision, that dream, it'll keep on going. That makes sense? So you can dream big, and it ain't going to go nowhere. So these people right here, they have this, her and her husband now are working toward an undreamed of future, way beyond anything that they ever hoped for, because they have a sober husband and a 12-step program. That can put you on the, what they call the fourth dimension. Rock it to the fourth dimension, living in utopia. They use the words. Just study them. Spiritual experiences. Spiritual awakenings. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about stuff that's way beyond your today's potential. something way beyond your senses. But you can think, feel, taste, touch, smell. You way beyond that. You have the potential with this 12 steps program to be way beyond that. Bill and Bob wrote in the book, in the first 100, that they hope that every alcoholic on the planet that was in trouble could have one of these books and read and become sober. That was their vision. And it's still growing, and they long gone, their bodies.
That's right.
Next.
Still another difficulty is that you may become jealous of the attention he bestows on other people, especially alcoholics. You have been starving for his companionship, yet he spends long hours helping other men and their families. You feel he should now be yours. The fact is that he should work with other people to maintain his own sobriety. Sometimes he will be so interested that he becomes really neglectful. Your house is filled with strangers. You may not like some of them. You get stirred up about their troubles, but not at all about yours. It will do little good if you point that out and urge more attention for yourself. You find it a real mistake to dampen his enthusiasm for alcoholic work. You should join in his efforts as much as you possibly can. We suggest that you direct some of your thought to the wives of his new alcoholic friends. They need the counsel and love of a woman who has gone through what you have.
Remember I told y'all that every time I stand up here and talk or doing a study, I'm really not talking to y'all, I'm talking to me. This paragraph is me. All day long. And I can pick out, I know a couple people in here, it's them too. You know what I'm saying? Still another difficulty is that you may become jealous. They're talking about the women becoming jealous of the attention he bestows on other people, especially alcoholics. In any family, if you got an alcoholic or any family that has a recovering person in it, and that person is really into AA, really in the books, really working with sponsees, you know, really doing what he's supposed to do, trust me, it's going to be some jealousy. Because they're going to feel neglected. You got to learn how to balance it. You know what I'm trying to say? I didn't learn that, you know, real well. I had to get kicked and cussed out before the balancing came. You know? But I heard it a lot. But I don't know how my wife even put up with the first 5 years. You know? It says right here that we have been starving for his companionship. And I can understand that. If you've been with this man 20 years and he's been always an alcoholic, but you had this vision of this sober husband that was loving and romantic and cared, then all of a sudden they get clean and sober, now you go running off the head? That's understandable. You know? Yet he spent long hours helping other men and their families. You feel he should now be yours. I understand that. Now, I'm also speaking to the people who got less time, and you find this program very, very, very rewarding for you, and you really want to give it back, and you in a relationship, you need to take this home and read it. It's like a beware moment. Because once you start, it's going to come. So I would kind of say, don't take it from the old schoolers all the time. Try to prevent what we did. That makes sense? Right, y'all? You got to prevent what we did. Because we were fools. You know? Thinking that we Jesus or something, trying to save the whole AA program. And getting cussed out at the same time, then feeling guilty. I'm just trying to help my fellows, but neglecting everything else. And get overboard with this. You know, we got addictive personalities anyway. Yeah. Alright. You feel he should now be yours. The fact is that he should work with other people to maintain his own sobriety. I heard that and it stuck in my head. sometimes he will be so interested that he becomes really neglectful. We can go working with other people so much and sponsees and getting in their problems and try to save their lives and taking them through the steps that we neglect our families. Alright? You know, entertainers see this all the time. You know, somebody that's famous and he's married or she's married, they really neglect their families also for their jobs and their careers. Alright? Your house is filled with strangers. You know, I can understand my wife's resentment sometimes. Every time she comes to work, it's a different person up here. You know what I'm trying to say? Everyone don't realize to hear a new one. You know? Go over to the house that she owns, one of them in her name. She got sick people in there, she don't know none of them. Come on now, let's be real. You know? You may, and at the end of the day, no matter how much neglectful they are, the book still say they need to be working doing something other than complaining about the state of the nature. You know what I'm trying to say, that what's going on. It says that you may not like some of them. He gets stirred up about their troubles, but not at all about yours. I hear that all the time. It will do little good if you point that out and urge more attention for yourself. We find it a real mistake to dampen his enthusiasm for alcoholic work. I know personally, when anybody attack my alcoholic work, I really feel like cutting them out of my life. I really do. It might not be I call that a drunk decision, you know what I'm saying? It might not be a good decision, but you attack my alcoholic work, to me you gone. Itch. You're erased. But that's not realistic, you know what I'm trying to say? All they're doing is crying out for more attention. Show me some affection. I feel neglected. But for someone who do this like I do it, you don't kind of take it that way. You know what I'm trying to say? You kind of feel like they you know, like you need to go get a life and leave mine alone. You know. Then it says that you should join in his efforts as much as you possibly can. And here they come with a suggestion. We suggest that you direct some of your thought to the wives of his new alcoholic friends. They need the counsel and love of a woman who has gone through what you have. And I agree with that. They need to start working with other, you know, women that went through the process that you already went through. They're in the process now. There's a lot you can give them. Alright? And that goes with anything. With anything, you know. I had an incident today about some construction. And I feel, this is just me personally, I could be wrong, but my brother, he was in recovery, you know, before up to the day he died. He had like 12 years. But my thing is that the man was good. His construction skill was superb. How did I know that? I lived with him all my life. He wasn't 2 years, 3 years different in age. I was 3 years older than him. When we were a little boy, he was 5, I was 8. I had no desire of taking things apart and putting them back together. My mama and me would go to the store. We come back, the whole stove disassembled. He would take it apart and lay it on the floor. And he come in, whoa! I put it back together. This is a kid. Take it and put it all back together and work. A radio had no chance in our house. He would take the radio, right, kid? My brother could do that. He would take the radio, he would take the radio apart, and even the coil, you know that copper? Lay it all on a long line and put it all back. I had a Volkswagen. I came home, the whole Volkswagen in the front yard flat. Then put it back together. He just, I didn't want to find out how it worked. So when it came to billing and stuff like that, we can look at a picture in a magazine, and then get his tool and bill it. So I seen that all my life. So when I see construction people doing shabby jobs and imperfection, even though I'm not willing to get in there and do it, I know what it's supposed to be like. You see what I'm saying? I know what it's supposed to be like. So, if the same thing that's happening, if you've been through all of that, if these women been there for 20 years watching this struggling with this alcohol, they know what you're going through from experience. They know, and they can help. They can, a lot of questions that you have going through this that you can help. That's the same with people coming into recovery. I tell people all the time, after 22 years, I almost, now I don't judge, I really don't judge, but I can tell whether you're going to be here or not. You know, I can tell. Even the guy who work here, they be betting they ain't going to make it a week. They know. Because it's certain things, right, Carson? It's certain things that we do know. If you can't sit still, you go to our house and you got to run up and down the street, always on the cell phone, in and out the door and everything, everybody else sitting down watching the game, you finna go. That won't amount of time. You finna go. You can't even sit on the chair and sit still. We know this. You know, it's no different. You know, and then like you get somebody that got, let's say he has 20 years clean, and he's your sponsor. You got 6 months. And then the advice that he gives you, you go against. But he been sponsoring people, he know how to get 20 years, and you got 6 months, you're going to tell him, I don't think that's the way it should be. And maybe you need a sponsor with 6.5 months. We all respond to each other. Because he know. You know, when I worked at Jefferson Place for my internship, right, I used to do I did spirituality, and then I had, on the weekend, I did the assessments. On the weekend, my job was to, there's so many people go on pass after 30 days. Then after they go on pass, when they come back on Monday, on Sunday night, Monday, I had to write them up, you know, and get their experiences for what they're going to pass. So, and then some people don't make it back. So when they come back to get their stuff, we'll lock it in a room, and I will have to write down what happened before I can let them get their stuff. It always went, I call it the Little Red Robin Hood story. On my way to Grandma's house, I was clean sober, had no thought about thinking, and on my way to Grandma's house, I met this girl. This is an all-male facility. When I met this girl, we went to the hotel, and I was going to have sex, then I was going to go to Grandma's house. But when I got in the room, she wanted to go get something to use, a drink or whatever. Then it dawned on me I never had sex with sober. So I thought it might be a good idea that I can use too, because I'm not around nobody in treatment. But they didn't know about the illness. So soon they put it in, it over. So I used to write almost 2 years of internship. I was writing the same story. In fact, I made a paper and then put the fill in the blank name. Your name? Fill in the blank. Tim. What hotel it was? It was the same story over and over. So I said, I'm going to tell the guy what not to do. Yeah. Before you go on past, this is what you cannot do. You just go straight to Grandma's house. Don't detour, don't stop, don't let no female tell you what to do. Please go to Grandma's house and call her from Grandma's house. 2 or 3 of them don't make it to Grandma's house. They come back. Now, they don't heard the Little Red Robin Hood story. They come back to me, and I say, what happened, man? You right. Little Red Robin Hood got me. But my point is, this is really a simple program. It's not really as complicated as y'all think it is. When y'all think about spiritual awakenings and stuff like that, you thinking about something way out there. Yeah. That's gonna be like a thundering bolt. You know what I'm trying to say? No, it's you. It's right in you. The spiritual awakening is the fact that you made the grandma's house and you took the advice and you got there clean and sober and you got back clean and sober. That's a spiritual awakening. When the thought came to do something else, you didn't do it. Stop looking out. It's in. All right, now that's what these women, when they need to counsel and love of women who has gone through what you have. That's what they can give you, that kind of advice, because they went through it. All right, the next paragraph.
It is probably true that you and your husband have been living too much alone, for drinking many times isolates the wife of an alcoholic. Therefore, you probably need fresh interest in a great cause to live for as much as your husband. If you cooperate rather than complain, you will find that his excess enthusiasm will tone down. Both of you will awaken to a new sense of responsibility for others. You, as well as your husband, ought to think of what you can put into life instead of how much you can take out. Inevitably, your lives will be fuller for doing so. You will lose the old life to find one much better.
Alright. It is probably true that you and your husband have been living too much alone. For drinking many times isolates the wife of an alcoholic. We studied that in detail. How if you withdraw from society and become a recluse, they pull all the way back out of society, away from family and friends and social events and everything, from the embarrassment of the alcoholic. So they withdraw from life, and you know the husband done did it. So both y'all done pushed back out of life, okay? And then what happens is, therefore you probably need fresh interest and a great cause to live for, as much as your husband. Both of us need causes to live for. We don't push back out of life. So now that we come back, we just don't come back for ourselves. We come back with a mission in life. You know, like a Dharma. Like, you know, you can go so far. I have been so far out of life, so far out of material stuff, so far out of life that I told y'all last week that a couple guys who were with me, they were real Christians, you know, real core Christians, man. I mean, talking about all the way the Christian whole thing with the husband, the wife, the little kid, all Christians. Bible study, 10-minute prayer before you eat anything off the table. Real Christian. And they were asking me about, because they were with me and they support me. They're supporters of my company. And they were with me and they were like, do you believe in God? Really believe in God? That's what they asked me. I said, let me tell you something. If you been with and as far gone as I've been gone, when you ain't brushed your teeth and you ain't washed your butt for a month, and you ain't got a penny in the world, you don't even know where your next dime coming from. You know a dime? You have no idea how you gonna have your next dime. You have nothing left. I realized that the only thing I did have was God. There was nothing else. So I don't have to believe in God no more. I know that there was a God. Because I know there wasn't no Robert left. I didn't have nothing to live. I was dead and gone. The only thing left was God, the Spirit of God. So I probably know more about Him than you do. This ain't no reading thing. I didn't need no Bible to tell me what I need to know about God. It was in me, because I had no me left. There was a He that's in me that's greater than He that's in the world, and there it was. Because I was nothing. I was done. Alright? So then you kind of come up out of that kind of position with a cause, with a purpose in life. And they're saying that both of us need this purpose. You know, and it's a sad situation when the husband or the alcoholic come up out of that situation and they got a purpose of life, but the spouse don't. Yeah. That's going to be a lot of conflict. They both need a cause. Remember I told y'all that how is, and they can only help you so much, because they really don't have the disease. You know what I'm trying to say, when it comes to helping working with addicts and alcoholics. But you know, I had to teach myself. I had an incident with my wife. She loved to do carpentry work. She loved to do houses and and she got a passion for renovating houses and interior decorating. And the day I stepped over her little lawn and got my neck cut off. But my thing is, I'm man enough to know that I should have let her be. Does that make sense? Well, I saw that wrong or right. Sometimes you gotta allow people to be, live and let live. Alright? So, my thing is that, it said right here, if you cooperate rather than complain, you will find that his excess enthusiasm will tone down. And that goes both ways. If I cooperate instead of complain, I find that her enthusiasm will tone down too. It said both of you will awaken to a new sense of responsibility for others. If you allow a person to do what they do and the desires that they have, even if it don't have anything to do with your purpose and your desire, that person in their own way can help others too. That makes sense? You helping the carpenters, you helping Home Depot, you helping the employees that work at Home Depot, you helping the people that cut down the trees, you know what I'm saying? The people that log the trees up on the river, you know, I see all that on Discovery Channel. Dragging all them big woods up, and then the people that work in the sawmill. There's a lot of stuff that happens before we get to our plate. So you are contributing. When you whatever you're doing, you are contributing. Don't take it for vain or vanity. So it says that both of us have a sense of responsibility for others. Alright? As well as for your husband, you ought to think of what you can put into life instead of how much you can take out. That's very important. Life ain't about begging. Life is about what can I contribute to life? What can I give back? What can I do to help another human being? That's why I say I want to be the best 12-step teacher on the planet. Because I really want people to get there. You know, one of the most beautiful things that I have experienced, I know Wayne knows because he reads the statistic more than me, is that we got a war that's going on. And I've been getting a lot of guys from the Navy. Now I know about the Army and a lot of that. But the Navy, them big aircraft carriers, big blocks of nothing but cities. An aircraft is like a city. You know, with thousands and hundreds of people just everywhere. One big old city. Do you know there's alcoholics on them boats, cities? Do you know that some of them alcoholics in that city pick this class up on the YouTube? Now, if that's not giving back, I don't know what is. That's what broadened my horizon about helping others. That's a beautiful thing. That they can't wait till whatever day it is in whatever country they in to see the next YouTube about recovery. To me, that's deep. That's putting into life instead of taking from life. I could be writing right now, once you see me figure it out. But that's not what it's about. You know what I'm saying? It's about knowing that you're helping someone in another country. Alright? It says that inevitably your lives will be fuller for doing so. That's what I'm talking about, having a fuller life, a more rewarding life, a richer life. Just that feeling alone, everybody in here, because you come to this group, you felt it, a little bit of inspiration too. You will lose the old life and find a much better one. That's a promise. Alright, let's go, Paul. We got 3.
Perhaps your husband.
Go ahead.
Perhaps your husband will make a fair start on the new basis, but just as things are going beautifully, he dismays you by coming home drunk. If you are satisfied he really wants to get over drinking, you need not be alarmed. Though it is infinitely better that he have no relapse at all, as has been true with many of our men. It is by no means a bad thing in some cases. Your husband will see at once that he must redouble his spiritual activities if he expects to survive. You need not remind him of his spiritual deficiency. He will know it. Cheer him up and ask him how you can be more helpful.
All right, everything you made a fair start on a new basis. What they're talking about here, this is strictly a 12-step paragraph. A 12-step paragraph of what they're doing right here. You made a new beginning. That's step what? 1, 2, and 3. You did step 1, 2, and 3. Things are going beautifully. Bam, you relapse. Remember I told you about the waltz? That dance? 1, 2, 3, relapse. 1, 2, 3, relapse. 1, 2, 3, relapse. You're doing the waltz. Then it says, if you are satisfied he really wants to get over drinking, you need not be alarmed. Though it is infinitely better that he have no relapse at all, as has been true with many of our men, it is by no means a bad thing in some cases. Somebody did step 1, 2, and 3, they relapse. It's not a bad thing. Because now they got a chance to finish the rest of the steps. It said right here, your husband will see at once that he must redouble his spiritual activities if he expects to survive. Redouble your spiritual activity, it means you need to do step 4, 5, 6, and 7. You have to do the house cleaning steps in order to survive. That makes sense? If you relapse and you ain't never did no 4 steps, as soon as you come back, you need to go back through that 1, 2, and 3 with the sponsor and start a 4th step. You have to do the house cleaning step from 4 through 9. Alright? Then it says, you need not remind him of his spiritual deficiency. He know he ain't do them steps. Not a question about it. He know. He in a 12-step program and they never worked a 12 step. He know. Because you sit there like a hermit. When somebody talking about step 4 or they talking about this step and you ain't never did it, you know. You can't even pretend that one. You can't even fake that one. You ain't did it. He will know of it. Cheer him up and ask him how you can be still more helpful. Let's go to the next one.
Slightest sign of fear or intolerance may lessen your husband's chance of recovery. In a weak moment, he may take your dislike of his high-stepping friends as one of those insanely trivial excuses to drink.
It said the slightest sign of fear or intolerance may lessen your husband's chance of recovery. You can't be scared that he relapse. You know what I'm trying to say? You got to hang in there. Don't be intolerant towards him. You know, kind of in a weak moment, he may take your dislike of his high-stepping friends as one of those insanely trivial excuses to drink. We don't need much. We're already done drank.
Yeah.
I'm already, you know what I'm saying, done blew my recovery. All you got to do is say the wrong thing, and I'm out of here.
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
We never try to arrange a man's life so as to shield him from temptation. The slightest disposition on your part to guide his appointments or his affairs so he will not be tempted will be noticed. Make him feel absolutely free to come and go as he likes. This is important. If he gets drunk, don't blame yourself. God has either removed your husband's liquor problem or he has not. If not, it had better be found out right away. Then you and your husband can get right down to fundamentals. If a repetition is to be prevented, place the problem along with everything else in God's hands.
We never try to arrange a man's life as to shield him from temptation. Don't try to put him in a situation where he won't be tempted to use. You know what I'm trying to say? Go to a men's retreat, or, you know what I'm saying, let's go to a cabin out in the woods somewhere where ain't no alcohol. But even in there, you know, we'll send a squirrel to go with us. That's what we do. You know? Don't matter. You know, we're going to get one. You know, homeboy down there, two hillbilly down there fishing. Hey, buddy. You know, I'm from New York. Got a drink. Yeah. Alcoholic don't care. I don't care what walks of life you in, where you came from. If a drink is involved, we unite. The slightest disposition on your part to guide his disappointments or his affairs so he will not be tempted to be noticed. It said, make him feel absolutely free to come and go as he likes. Trick him. This is important. If he gets drunk, don't blame yourself. God has either removed your husband's liquor problem or he has not. That's the miracle, that the obsession has been removed by God. Now, I always tell people, I ask people a lot of times, I haven't done it lately, when they come into the house, or they going home and they get out of work, or they walking and they're boxing with the alcohol problem. I don't want to use, you know what I'm trying to say, fighting it. If you're doing that, then it hasn't been removed. And you need to know it hasn't been removed. But some other guy can go home and the thought don't even come to him. So the ones that still have to wrestle and fight with it all the time, we got to be very careful with them. Alright? I knew with 3 or 4 months after I had been clean and sober that the problem had been removed. But I was scared to tell somebody that because everybody around me was still fighting it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They were fighting it, man. I said, man, I didn't want to say that. I pretended that I was fighting with it too. But it was gone. It was gone. Then I talked to my sponsor, but he said, well, God has really removed your obsession. And that's a good thing to know. If you don't have the problem to drink and drug, then somebody your sponsor needs to tell you, well, God has probably removed it. That's a good feeling to stay clean and sober. That's worthy. You don't have to pretend that it's there if it's not. But if it is there, you need to find out why and get to the place where it's not there. Alright? So it says, if not, it had better be found out right away. That's what we do. Then you and your husband can get right down to fundamental. You can go back to that first step. Let's take a good look at this thing on a spiritual basis. You can't drink and everything, but let's look at it spiritually. If a relapse is to be prevented, place the problem along with everything else in God's hand. We got to do a spiritual walk on this. Go ahead, Paul.
We realize that we have been giving you much direction and advice. We may have seemed to lecture. If that is so, we are sorry, for we ourselves don't always care for people who lecture us. But what we have related is based upon experience, some of it painful. We had to learn these things the hard way. This is why we are anxious that you understand and that you avoid these unnecessary difficulties.
So to you out there who may soon be with us, we say good luck and God bless. And I just want to say something about the sentence. I think they did it perfect closing. I don't want to mess it up. That is why we are anxious that you understand and that you avoid these unnecessary difficulties. And that's what we try to tell you guys who new and everything that's just coming in, to listen to somebody with more cleaning time, that you don't have to go through what we went through. People come in here, they be 30 years old, 25 years old, 28 years old. I used to pull them to the side. Look, you need to get it now, so you don't have to come back at 55, 65. Get it right now. So you don't have to avoid all that suffering and pain that other people went through. Because a lot of times they be like they're invincible, like it ain't going to happen. That's not true. Get it while you're young and maintain sobriety. And if you're older, that this is the last chance anyway, you're going to have to maintain it. Yeah. You don't have a choice. Either do it or die. The body ain't going to take but so much. All right, thank y'all for a good meeting.